Variants,
foil, promo, masterpiece, showcase,
variants,
alternate, borderless, time-shifted, invocation,
variants,
an expedition, invention, mythic, rare. Those are all the words on our Perfect Pull t-shirt. Make sure you go check it out at our store.
shirt. Ever since 2019, when Throne of Eldraine came out, we've had variants, and Modern Horizons 2 is no exception. We're going to be talking about the new sketch cards. Video starts right now.
Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who power our channel. Check out our Patreon for monthly giveaways, exclusive content, and even a starring role in our fan fight series. Link in the description below.
Shop at TCG Player using our link in the description below and directly help our channel.
Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Jake.
I'm Joel. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. Today we are going to talk about variants. We have got a brand new one with the sketch variant in Modern Horizons 2, and we thought it was time to look back at how we got to this point. But before we jump into it, if you would, go down there, hit that like button if you like the video by the end of it, and hit that dislike button if you don't.
That's the best way to support the channel, with just the click of a button. If you are a fan of Jake and Joel, head on over to Patreon, get involved on a deeper level. There's giveaways, your name is in the videos. It's a whole thing. I think we've said the stuff. Let's talk about these cards from Modern Horizons 2. There's a lot to go over.
So we're going to start with the brand new variant. What you're looking at here is Sarah's Emissary, a brand new card from Modern Horizons. This is the regular border. This is the regular treatment. You're looking at it right here. And Jake, the variant in question is the sketch variant. This is a brand new variant to Modern Horizons 2, meant to sort of encapsulate the artist's vision or the art director's vision as communicated first to the artist that will be creating the art for the card. It's been pretty divisive. Some people really like it, some people really don't like it, but that's kind of how all these treatments are. Jake, looking at the sketch variant, what are your thoughts?
It looks unfinished, which I think is the whole point of it, right?
Right.
I like the art within the border of the actual art of the card. I don't like the frame of the card. I think the frame of the card is sloppy. Since Throne of Eldraine in 2019, we've had other variants. Again, we're going to talk about those variants in this video, but this is just the art direction that they have chosen for this one specific set. This is not something that's going to persist past Modern Horizons 2. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's fine. It's not the kind of card that I specifically want to collect. However, I do think, again, the sketch and that original artistic direction within the card is really cool, that essentially it's an alternate art.
I don't really like them personally either, Jake. I do applaud them trying things. I think I've said that since like Secret Layers started happening. I want them to really like make some out there choices, risk some misfires like I think this one is. Personally, the art in the frame is excellent. I think, Jake, for me, it's the same thing as it is for you. It comes down to the border. I don't really like it. I'd like for you to think about this, though. I had this interesting thought when I was looking at these alone. With the text being almost perfect, just like a regular card, they don't fully encapsulate this like sketched, hastily, almost test card version right before it got printed, that I think that these could sort of inhabit that space if the text looked a little more sketched out. I mean, think all the way back to like invocations during Amonkhet block. That was in that Egyptian text. You almost couldn't even read it. I'm not saying go that far, but this looks like, yeah, the Kavu on there. I love this art, just the sketch version. I don't really mind, I think, the messy frame if the text also sort of matched, because I think that the text just kind of takes me out of it. I think that might be where the sort of mental hang-up is for me.
Sure, now go with me here, because this is kind of where I'm at with this. Now, think of like a blueprint schematic, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to keep that text the way it is, maybe go with like the direction of like a blueprint around the side of the cards, in blue for blue, black for black, green for green, red for red, and so on.
Let us know down below what you think of the sketch variant. This is just the latest in a long line of variants for MTG, and we've both fallen on like or dislike of every variant that's come out, but I don't think that we've had one, Jake, that we both looked at and went, not for me. almost
and it
in
helps
unison.
curb my FOMO of this set. If I'm being completely honest, like the FOMO inside of me that is generally like pulling at me, now aside from the insane prices that this set has right out the gate,
Sure.
these variants don't exactly speak to me. I'm sure there are some people that are going to be like, no, they're awesome, and I'm sure that once we see them in foil start popping up, maybe they really do pop and it's really interesting. Again, it just kind of reminds me almost of like a playtest card from like Mystery Booster Convention Edition, for example, but I almost want that more. Like
Jake, honestly, that is my suggestion. Is we already saw what it looks like to have this fake post-it note over the card actually printed onto the card.
Sure.
And so I know that they can, do notebook lines on the text box and have it handwritten looking, but still legible. They just didn't want to take that this far, and that is fine. And just think that maybe it could have gone that far and been just fine. Jake was getting at earlier the amount of variance that we are seeing throughout all sets now. It started back just before Throne of Eldraine. I think at this point, Jake, every set is going to provide us with extendeds, borderless, and maybe old borders. The extendeds are here where the art just gets kind of pulled to the side, but the card still maintains basically an MTG border. You can see
on the bottom half of the card, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Even at the top, just to the left and to the right of the name title block for the card, you've got the actual border, and it just sort of extends that card out. You've also got borderless, where you can see the borderless falls off. You've got the title block still and the type block, but the art itself is almost taking up the entire card. And more often than not, these are variants. They're variant arts, and so we'll have borderless alternate art versions in every set at this point. That's been pretty consistent since Eldraine, and so I'm pretty sure we're going to see those. Jake, it also recently seems like old border might be a direction that we're going consistently.
Retro.
Yeah, retro. Do you think that we'll see this in every set going forward, or is this going to be a trick they pull out every other?
I don't know. Who knows? That's kind of where I'm at with this. I like the old frame. I think it's really cool. They're calling it a retro frame. You might hear it be called like a time shifted frame.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of these variants, they all started, and we do have one of the cards from Ultimate Masters that we're going to talk about, but it really all started with Ultimate Masters, because long gone are the days of just collect your 4 non-foil variants, collect your foil variants of a certain card, and you're done.
Yeah.
No, now it's like each card has like 4 or 5 different variants. You're going to have the standard version. You're going to have a time shifted frame version or a retro version. You're going to have an extended version. You might have an alternate art version. You might have a showcase version, and they're all their own different thing. And then each of those have a foil variant, right?
Yeah.
And so,
it looks like every set's going to provide us with that extended, that borderless, maybe old border. We'll see how often these actually pop up. But yeah, Jake, the showcase is next. Now it looks like most every set is going to come with some special frame group of cards in it. For Kaldheim, they had sort of a Nordic frame theme with different arts. It was Mystical Archive in Strixhaven. We really liked Mystical Archive in Strixhaven. Could take or leave the Kaldheim borders. They were pretty cool. They were flavorful. Same thing with Throne. They had the storybook. But with Demonic Tutor here, you see this is from Mystical Archive in Strixhaven. Even these had alternates where you could get the Japanese alternate art version of that same card. This is the exact same card that you were just looking at. It's Mystical Archive Japanese alternate art version. And then we've seen that before, Jake. With the War of the Spark Japanese alternate, we had special Japanese art on these variants that could be pulled only in Japanese boosters. And so we've got variants of variants at this point, and it just keeps going deeper. But as you were getting to, Jake, we see Liliana. This is where it all started, these ultimate box toppers. Looking at this now, Jake, this almost just qualifies as extended. It's not quite borderless, but it is sort of actually in between what we now know as the extended variant and the borderless alternate variant.
Right. Yes. So lots of different adjectives in this video. What you're looking at here is essentially where this whole extended art thing started. And it was originally called Box Topper. It came out in Ultimate Masters. Ultimate Masters debuted after this big War of the Spark debacle. They sent these out. Actually, it would have been probably Guilds of Ravnica, actually, that debacle. And then they sent these out. And then shortly after Guilds of Ravnica, which was Mythic Edition, which brought us that first time that we saw that alternate art Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, the Wizards of the Coast was still selling the product on Hasbro's website, which was bad. They tried selling on eBay, which was awful. Now they've moved to Secret Lair. There's different ways to get these products, but essentially what you're looking at here is a box topper. This was what it was called when it first came out. You can even see UMA at the bottom, Ultimate Masters. This was one of, I believe, 40 cards. It was called a box topper. It has since become called extended art. It
or
is
borderless in some cases. Yeah, this is where it all started. When we saw next, it was in Throne of Eldraine. We had the showcase frame, which was this one here, the storybook frame. It was an instant or a sorcery combined with a creature in the second part.
This is 2019.
Yeah, this was really
Late.
the first full foray into it after the UMA box toppers, because also in Throne of Eldraine, we got, this is a borderless alternate art version of Oko Thief of Crowns. So we saw our first borderless alternate versions in the set alongside extended art versions. As you can see, this is just the card regular. This is the normal art if you're not familiar with Great Henge, and you can see where the border starts up at the title block, and they're in the middle at the type line.
And essentially they just, with this card, they essentially just blow that image up a little bit. They just enlarge it a little bit, extend it across the edges. You see the border of the artifact is still there, up there at the nameplate of the card. Before all of this, there were regular versions of cards, there were foil versions of cards, there were judge promos.
Right.
And now since Ultimate Master, since the Mythic Edition debacles, and since Ultimate Masters and the box toppers, and then Throne of Eldraine, you know, we're looking at these storybook frames, and the first time that we saw these extended art cards,
collector boosters broke on right then, and that's what brought all these different variations.
Right. And you have to put yourself in the perspective of back then when that first happened, the FOMO was insane. Because now you can look at it, in hindsight is 2020, and you can go, oh, they've been doing extended arts ever since then. As players who saw the Great Henge and the Oko that we just saw in that borderless treatment, we were calling those box toppers. You can go and you can watch Rudy's videos over at Alpha Investments. He was calling these box toppers all the time. And then it essentially, extended art assumed that role in the whole MTG multiverse. And ever since then, you know, it is just every set comes out. I mean, we made a joke. Fetchlands had been printed 5 times, the enemy Fetchlands. And now in Modern Horizons 2, they're printing 3 different variants of it. And each of those variants are going to have a foil variant. So they printed those enemy Fetchlands 5 times. And in Modern Horizons 2, they printed 6 different versions of them. So it really is just like all over the place. Yeah, just don't let that FOMO control you. Seriously, you can fight it.
It's going to get worse and worse. What you're looking at here is Brunner Battlehammer from Forgotten Realms. This is a set yet to come this year, but they've already told us that we're going to get another variant in this. This is what the showcases are going to be in the D&D themed set, Forgotten Realms. Same card, Brunner Battlehammer, but this is in a version that looks like a D&D rule book.
This is actually really cool. I like this a lot more than the sketch frames that we're talking about for Modern Horizons 2. I'd be a lot more likely to, you know, want to acquire these. And again, keep in mind, this is going to be probably one of 3 or 4 different versions of this card, and it's probably going to have its own foil variant as well. So it really does start to take you into the question of, if everything is special, then is anything special? And here from Commander Collection Green, you're looking at a Soul Ring. And this is just a very specific version of Soul Ring. You could look up Soul Ring on Scryfall, and you're going to find probably 40 different images and versions of this card that you can buy.
And we know there's going to be a Commander collection for each individual color. They wouldn't just make green. I'm assuming it sold well enough to continue making these variants. And Jake, the biggest elephant in the room, Secret Layers. We know that Secret Layers is on top of all of this. We have now got variants coming out within sets, multiple variants within sets, so much so that everybody starts looking for the roadmap, for the article that explains what variant I can get in what slot of what pack, and how to track down exactly the ones that you want. Added to that, we know Secret Layers are not stopping. They've bragged publicly about how much money these make them. And so we know that these are going to continue. And so I think, Jake, to sum all of this up, right all the way back around to the current Modern Horizons 2 frame and our newest sketch variants are, find the ones you like. We don't like this, but that's okay. You might like it, and that's also okay. Find the ones you like. Don't FOMO out. There are going to be more. Everything that is not reserve list is not sacred to them to reprint, but they also, Jake, know exactly how to space out these reprints to maintain the hype for the sets. They know what reprint equity is, and they know when to drop that card in that's going to be like, oh, here's the Imperial Seal. Jake and Joel have been talking about it for years. Here's the Imperial Seal, y'all. This is where we're going to print it.
Keep in mind this, if you're ready to have your mind blown. Essentially, the art from Secret Lair is reserve list.
Let us know what you think of all these variants down below. There's a lot to talk about with this subject, and this probably won't be the last time that we discuss it.
No, definitely not. And make sure that you're subscribed if you want to keep up with Modern Horizons 2 previews as those continue to come out. We will be covering the set. And also, we do have our own preview on May 30th. Depending on when you're watching this video, it is sanctioned from Wizards of the Coast. So make sure that you are tuned in for that as well.